but really starting to understand that brand is how people feel about what you do.
But if the only thing that we're doing is relying on the work that we're doing for clients, it could be a lot more powerful when we add the soul of our own brand, right? Because we are the brand.
The first and biggest step is remembering who the hero really is. You're the hero of your story, but as your brand story impacts my life, whether it's my business or my own personal life, you're here to guide me.
On episode 337 of the podcast, we were talking about the significance of creating genuine experiences and connections in branding beyond just visual elements, like beyond logos and that kind of thing. We're also talking about how authenticity can be a powerful tool to differentiate your brand and cultivate genuine relationships. And then we cover the impact of infusing creativity into storytelling and other creative aspects of branding to enhance brand presence and leave a lasting impression. All that and more on this episode. What's up, friend? Hey, it is Ryan Coral from Studio Sherpas, and this is the Grow Your Video Business podcast. This is the show for corporate and commercial filmmakers. I was going to say podcasters, but that's not true. This is for all you filmmakers out there that are trying to make a living at this thing. We talk about the business of production here. We talk about sales and marketing and mindset, and we talk about processes and all the things that we can be doing more efficiently, more effectively, how we can be getting our dream clients and budgeting and estimating efficiently and with lots of room for profitability and all of the things. So if that sounds like you and you're ready to do the work, then you are in the right place. I'm so happy that you're here. Two things before we jump into the interview. Grab a pen and a piece of paper or take out your phone and take some notes here. Unless you're driving, then don't do that. The Onward Summit is coming back. So this will be our fourth Onward Summit. This is our in-person event in Detroit, Michigan, Detroit-ish, Michigan. I want you to save the date. Registration is not open yet, but here's what you need to do. You need to block off these dates on your calendar, October 1 through 4, and say, I can't do any jobs on those dates. If somebody calls, I'm going to tell the client, hey, that sounds amazing. Let's do it on October 5th, the day after I get back from the Onward Summit, or let's do it the week before the first week of October, because the Onward Summit is October 1st through the 4th. You can get all the information about the event if you go to studiosherpas.com/onward. This is our in-person event. There will be up to 40 people at this event. It's a very intimate event for filmmakers, opportunity to be able to connect with so many people from around the country and around the globe. It is an international event, and it is definitely a highlight. We have plenty of people who have come to more than one of these events, and we've got sessions during the day. We hang out in the evenings. We grab lots of meals together, and it's an awesome time to be able to talk shop, to be able to lean on people. You get to like meet me and like give me a big hug and be like, oh, Ryan, this is so cool to meet you. You're like internet famous. No, nobody's said that. But you can give me a hug, or I will give you one, or, handshake, fist bump, whatever, but definitely not as cool as a hug. So October 1st through the 4th, Onward Summit at our studio, the Tell Studios, Studio Sherpas headquarters in Lake Orion, Michigan. So write those down, October 1st through the 4th. I'll see you there. More information to come. And secondly, I want you to think about your website for a minute. Close your eyes unless you're driving. Think about it. Does your website, does it generate leads for your business? If so, awesome. The next question is, are these the right kind of leads that lead to the right kind of jobs, that lead to your ideal clients and all of the happiness in the world? My hope is that it is generating the right kind of leads and the kind of jobs that you want. But if you think there is room for improvement on your website, then I want you to download my free checklist called The Lead Machine. Because I believe that our websites really should be a lead machine. They should be operating all the time in the background or the foreground, in collecting interest, informing people of how we can help solve their problems, engaging, informing, and ultimately booking the kind of jobs that we want to be doing. The Lead Machine is designed to help you quickly identify some key areas on your website that could be tweaked to help you attract more ideal clients. This is my gift to you for being a listener. You can get immediate access to the Lead Machine by going to studiosherpas.com/lead machine. So go get it. Start using your website as a lead machine. That thing should be working for you 24/7. Okay, so go grab it. Lead Machine at studiosherpas.com/lead machine. With that, this is a special episode. My guest is a guy that married my wife and I, and he holds a very special place in our lives. But he's also just an incredibly gifted business person, artist, creative, doing amazing things. And I'm so glad that I get to introduce you to him today. So let's jump into today's episode. What's up, friends? Welcome to another episode of the show. And today I'm so excited. I'm so happy. This is just like, if you saw me post in the Facebook group earlier, my guest today is the same guest that married my wife and I 20 years ago. And it's just pretty insane that this is happening. Shannon Williams, he is a multi-hyphenate creative based in Columbus, Ohio. He is passionate about the music of language, the power of story, the intelligence of good design, and the compelling still image, as well as building community amongst creatives. He is an old friend of mine, and definitely has played a huge part in my life, has been a mentor for a long time. Haven't connected with him in forever. But Shannon, dude, it's so good to get you on this show. So glad that you're here.
Oh, man, it's so good. It's been 100 years since I've seen you. So, I have a white beard now, and 20 years since I performed your wedding. Wow.
Can you believe that? Dude, we're so old.
That is wild. I still remember it. I remember it clearly. That was a good day.
That was a good day. We watched our wedding video. I think for the first time we showed it to our kids. Like, they had never seen it. And nice. And I'm like, you hear that guy's voice? That man. So I thought maybe we could start today. You could sing.
No,
I'm not even gonna go there.
Whatever you're gonna say, the answer is no.
The answer is no. Just so you guys know, Shannon does have like one of the most amazing singing voices that I've ever heard. So that is a true fact. But he's got this like sweet rasp that's not even doing it justice. But, okay, my fear in bringing you on is that we were just gonna like. Yeah. Well, sorry. I know you didn't put in your bio, but people need to know this. So what you are multi-hyphenate. Like I said, I have no idea what that means. I think that just means you're good at a lot of the things. How are you spending your time? How are you making money today? Why in the world would you come onto a podcast for a bunch of video people?
Yeah, great question. I think so. I'm primarily a photographer by trade, commercial photographer for almost 20 years. Also hard to believe, but I came into that creative field just really kind of raw and new and learning on the fly, like a lot of us do, when we jump into creative entrepreneurship. And, along the way, of course, you find out pretty quickly in whatever it is you're creating that your job is only a small percentage of your time is actually spent creating that. The rest of it is business, it's marketing, it's creating a brand, it's networking, it's learning how to generate revenue every month. And so, it's been a wild ride. I think for anyone who's an entrepreneur can attest to the fact that the highs are really high, the lows can be really low, the in-betweens, you feel like you're going to get stuck sometimes, but I think that's part of what I bring to this conversation, even though I'm not exactly a video guy. I do shoot some video. Nothing like what you and your colleagues do. But, I think there's a brand story to be told for each of us. And as we sort of look at who we serve and what it means to bring our best, to bring our A game to each of them and help them succeed. I think there's a real sort of holistic thinking that's helpful for creative entrepreneurs that really has everything to do with brand. And so that's why I feel like I have something to say to creatives in general around, building your brand, being successful as a creative, but also recognizing, even though the word multi-hyphenate, it's a strange word, but really a lot of us fit into that, right? Because we can't just be good at one thing. You're building something, and you're creating talents and sharpening skill sets along the way, that all of which are, they're serving each other, but they're requiring you to grow separately and build different things along the way that you're good at. And so that's really, for me, I love photography. I love the still image as much as I do the moving image. The challenge of finding that perfect shot and freezing it and making it happen, that I still get pumped about that all these years later. But really then also the power of messaging combined with visuals, and then the impact that we can make and the way brands can shape our experience in the world and even help identify some meaning along the way. So that's part of what I'm excited to talk about today.
That's too bad, because I had something entirely different they were going to.
Oh, sweet. All right. Well, let's pivot. Yeah, let's go. So about that song I was going to sing.
Huge shout out to Ben Amos. The funny story about getting Shannon on the show, we have not seen each other. It's been years, way too long. But I saw Ben had posted this interview with a person named Shannon Williams, and story brand, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wait, Shannon Williams. And I clicked on the thing, and then I'm like, wait a second, how does Ben know Shannon, and why is Shannon on Ben's show and he's not on my show? So then immediately I was like, Shannon, you're coming on my show. Let's go. This would be a good excuse for us to get together. So Ben, thank you for the inspiration to reconnect Shannon and I. I loved, kind of when we were transitioning out of the college, we were there together for a long time. And then you start, I started my creative pursuit. You started creative pursuit. To see the work that you were doing back in I just remember seeing these photographs and just being like, what in the world? I always appreciated your creativity, and you brought that to your work. And I think you helped bring that out of me, and you helped celebrate what was inside of me. So I'm so grateful for that. And it's been really fun to watch your journey unfold and to see how you were able to turn your creativity into a business and really flex those muscles, because I just think you are just, look at you. You got white glasses and a red ball cap. That's just you're just cool, man. So I think that's so good. Brand story, we've talked about, I talk about Donald Miller all the time, and I love how he's been able to help all of us think of our clients as the hero in this journey, and not us. It's our websites shouldn't be just here's Tell Studios. These are all the things that we can do for you, and this is how we're gonna, just destroy the competition and just do great stuff because we've done this, and this. It's okay. But at the end of the day, what's in it for me? Where do I fit in your big story? Because you got a pretty big story here. That it's been such a huge gift for guys like you and me in this journey of trying to figure out how to create a brand, how we should be talking about our brand. Was there a light bulb moment for you when you realized, you're a photographer, you're doing all this creative stuff, now you've got a business, now you got to figure out how to maintain this business, grow this business, market the business. Was there a moment when you realized that the framework of Story Brand was this is what I need. This is what I've been missing.
Yeah. So it happened organically and very gradually over time. I learned early on that it's not enough to be good at photography. It's not enough to be good at video, whatever your actual creative pursuit is. Yeah. You have to be good at a whole lot of other things to really make a business and a life out of this kind of pursuit. In fact, there was a small studio in the town I was living at the time. Business-wise, this guy was killing it. Now I would look at his work and I was trying to figure out what the appeal was, because he was really serving a little bit of everyone, and he didn't really have a niche, and there didn't seem to be a particular focus, but his place was hopping. And he had guys coming in, folks coming in and out of the studio all day long. And there I was going, man, I'm really, what's happening here. And so it really got me starting to think more holistically about what I was doing. And then ultimately, when Donald Miller's material came out, and it was really kind of like the glue for everything that I had been learning and experiencing and getting better at, building my own brand, but still struggling with different pieces of it. Finding that glue was really important because it was the bonding agent that really took messaging as the core piece and brought it all together and help people understand why what I was offering was worth taking a look at and how it could be useful for what they were trying to accomplish.
So what is that like practically speaking for somebody that doesn't know story brand? I always like interchange those things. For somebody that's like, well, what does that actually look like? Because my work is really good and I've worked really hard to become an amazing filmmaker and our stuff looks way better than the competition. Although I'm not as busy as I want to be, like, what are these principles, these things that somebody needs to be thinking, how they should be thinking differently about going to market?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, I think it begins with understanding brand at its core. And, you and I both love Seth Godin along with, millions of other people, of course, but his definition I have right here. I want to read it because I don't want to mess it up.
Can you sing it actually?
With extra raspy? No, I won't be singing today. That's another episode. Let's schedule that for,
Sorry, man. I just cracked myself up. Continue. You're doing great.
So Seth Godin says a brand is the set of expectations, memories, stories, and relationships that taken together account for a consumer's decision to choose one product or service over another. So brand, my thinking early on about brand and how it applied to a creative pursuit was more about, the common mistake that a lot of people make. Well, I have this logo and these colors and these typefaces and it's kind of cohesive and hopefully it just represents me pretty well and gives me sort of an umbrella to communicate from under about what it is I do and how I serve people. But really starting to understand that brand is how people feel about what you do. It's their experience with you. And I remember going to this workshop one time in Vegas, and there was a noted celebrity photographer on stage, and he had been on multiple television shows, photographed celebrities. He was a well-known name, and so people in the audience were asking him about his success and how he landed where he was and different steps he'd followed. And I think a lot of us were looking for technique or looking for, building blocks of business and all these different things. It's funny because he spent about 15 minutes talking about creating an experience for your customers and how important it was to create an experience that keeps them remembering what it was like to actually work with you. And what it was like not only to see the final product, of course, but then like the whole experience from the time you pick up the phone, the time you respond to an email, the time you have the discovery call, and then start to work through the process of whatever it is you're creating together, that the experience itself had to be thoughtful and curated and deliberate. And so he had no secret sauce at the end. We're always looking for the secret sauce. He's like, the goal is just to keep these people wanting to come back with me because they enjoyed being with me and they liked what I do for them. And again, just another building block in the process for me about what brand thinking is. But, Godin says it so well. It's because it's the combination of people's memories, stories, expectations, and then the final product delivered in with that. That's what makes them choose you again and again. So again, it's not enough to just be good at the one thing. I shoot video, I shoot photo, I fill in the blank. I design graphics or websites. It's like, but would they work with you again? Do they want to be on set with you again? Do they want to, or do they walk away feeling like, man, it might be kind of cool to get a drink with that guy sometime, or like sit down for coffee, or just, I'm kind of curious what he's about more beyond, the work that we've done together. That's at the core of this entire thing, that that brand is all of that combined. And so I think if we apply that then to how we work with clients and understanding who they're serving. I mean, we want to help them. If you're creating a video for a company that tells their story, then that story's really got to make, as you say so well in your tagline, it's got to have soul. It's got to have feeling. There's got to be depth and substance and meaning. And so it can't just look good. It can't just be pretty. It can't just say nice things, and it can't just inform. It's got to do all of that, but ultimately it's got to have enough soul that it connects and makes that audience feel something like those guys get it. They know what I need. They're here for me somehow, and I think I need to explore that. Whatever the service or product is. If we on the creative end can help our clients accomplish that for theirs, then that's the kind of place where we start to really, really make some impact and, grow our business as well.
Yeah, that's a really powerful idea when we start thinking, because, it's like as good as I think our work is, there are plenty of studios that do it better than us. And if that's the only thing that people, measured to hire, we would never get hired, because there's enough people out there that are way better. And similar to you, I remember like back in the day, I remember seeing some really crappy websites, but like these guys were crushing it, charging like all this. And I'm like, what in the world? How is this even possible? Like that video is garbage. We could do so much better, but it wasn't about the quality of the video. That was part of it for sure. But it was the experience. It was the brand, whatever that person was creating for their people was powerful enough for them to get hired and to get hired multiple times and to be able to charge way more than I was. And that was eye-opening. That was frustrating. It was like, what in the world? What is this mysterious thing? Yeah. And I think it does point back to the idea of the brand. I think that statement of like, maybe they hire you once, but will they want to hire you again? What are you like on set? What are all of the what are the nuances? What is your what are your relational skills? What kind of rapport do you try to build? There's all of that, but then there's also, the other part of your brand is like, will they hire you the first time because of the experience that you're creating on your website, your email follow-up, or your lack of, do you have a phone number on your website? Do you make it easy for people to contact you? It's all of those pieces, I think, that stop people from hiring the first time. Yeah. So if you're wondering like, man, I wish the phone was ringing, or I wish I was getting more form submissions, like maybe you need to do more than just post your latest video on your Instagram channel. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, our default is to say, look, hey, everyone, this is what I do. I'm doing this now. Hire me. I'm good at it. And then we just wait and sit for wait for the inbox to fill up or the phone to ring. And, it's wild, because I think the people who are really killing it out there are people who are creating a connection. They're helping the people come to their site. They feel something. They see something that moves them. Even if you've directed a piece that has nothing to do with their particular industry, but they see something you've done that was really moving and powerful. It's like, wow, they could do that for me too. And that's where but again, it's got to continue from there. So when they email you, do they get a warm response? Do they feel like, oh yeah, it feels like I'm talking to the same guy, And then during the discovery call, is there that connection still happening? I mean, I like to say, like I wrote this down too, feeling creates connection, connection inspires loyalty, and loyalty informs action. So loyalty, we can't jump to loyalty right away. That's marriage. That's not a first date. Yeah. But the first couple of dates, there's a connection, and that comes from feeling. And so if we can't create a memorable brand experience that helps people feel something, then we'll never make it eventually to that place where we have these loyal repeat customers and brand loyalists who are coming back to us again, not only because we do great work, but because they like being with us, and they walk away feeling good, and we've given them hope. one of my favorite things to hear from people when they walk out of the studio door is when they say, man, thanks for all the great energy today. It's like all the good vibes, all the feel good. Cause like almost nobody wants to be in front of a camera, whether it's video or photo.
I mean, unless it's like me.
Well, I mean, you're the exception. Come on. I mean, look at all the Bradley Cooper vibe you got going on there. But almost no one likes it. And so it's like, to walk in and to have this experience on set, and to be directed in a way, and for clients to watch you direct talent in a way, or for you to interact with your client in a way that everybody walks away going, man, the energy was great there today. Yeah. It's like, it takes so much of the tedium and the frustration and the challenge of like budget and timing. And, we got to hit these goals, and we're thinking about ROI, and is this really going to do what we want in the long run? When people walk away from that brand feeling or that great feeling, and then you deliver on the creative, I mean, that's a win-win all the way around, and it keeps paying off. It just keeps paying off year after year.
Yeah. Yep. Totally agree. One of the things that I only because we're in this business, it's like, so many people that are in this community are like, oh yeah, brand films. That's the thing I get most, like mini documentaries. It's these stories. When we can tell our own story, and it's kind of hard to do, right? It's like, it's way easier to tell other people's stories. But if you could take the time and the energy and create your own kind of like, this is why I do this work, this is what I care about. If you could create that, in video form and put that on your about page, or, just have it part of your onboarding process when people are first meeting you, when you can create that experience, man, that's just like, it makes you different than the other person. And they've got their story, and their story might connect differently, or it should connect differently with, whoever's reaching out to them. But if we're not telling our stories, then what we're relying on is all of this other stuff. Like it's the work, or it's like, man, well, I hope the website does a job, or I hope my Instagram feed does the job. But as soon as we can infuse our own story, and really, I mean, our story should probably be infused into our website, in our Instagram. But if the only thing that we're doing is relying on the work that we're doing for clients, it could be a lot more powerful when we add the soul of our own brand, right? Because we are the brand in a sense.
Absolutely. I mean, your own personal story is such a big part of the differentiation. And it's not just your life story, but it's just sort of who you are. And you've got all this stuff inside you that makes you tick and makes you think and work the way you do. And I feel like that's one of the things you've done extremely well over the years with the work you're doing, is that people just really have this authentic window into like, I mean, this is Ryan, like, he's on a platform, he's on this podcast, we're having coffee, we bump into each other at the traffic light. He's the same dude everywhere, and like, I think that's what people want to know these days. Yeah. It's like we've all been through the phases and the long seasons in advertising marketing, where it was all about the hype and the, sort of what's really behind the curtain, kind of a thing, instead of just putting it out there. You've done that extremely well. I personally have struggled with that, to be honest with you. And so I look to guys like you who have done a better job at that, because I think because it is so important at the end of the day to tie it all together, and to make it part of the brand experience for the client.
I feel like, thank you, super kind.
Yeah.
I probably had a moment at some point where I was like, this could only help me work more with people that get me, but and avoid working with people that don't. And as soon as I realized that, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to put myself out there more so that I can speed up the dating process with ideal clients. I think what you said, it resonates with so many more people. Just the way my personality is. I'm like, I want everybody to know me, and I'm not afraid to, that's just like how I'm wired. That's just like, that's in me. I didn't have to work hard for that. So for good or worse, like it is what it is. I would say most people say like, oh man, I don't want to be as annoying as Ryan. I don't have the same personality. There's a fear of like, they see all these other people whose work is way better. Their website, their social feeds are so much better. I'm not even going to make an effort because this is a little embarrassing what little I have to offer here to even enter the space. So there's a lot of that headspace, mindset stuff where you just believe whatever most of it's not true anyway. In your own story, what are you like? You said like, well, I kind of struggle. I look to guys like you as part of my inspiration, but what's the thing that holds you back from sharing what you have? Because I would say, dude, if you're sharing, because I know your story and I know if you're sharing your stuff, it's going to be so good for so many people. But I know perfectionism probably gets in the way, for you because you're heart of heart, you're creative, man. And that's like all of us, we want everything to be like gold when we put it out. And if it's not gold, we're not going to put it out yet. We'll keep working on it. And it's like, you know what? Okay, I changed my mind. I'm going to do something different. And then so what's your kind of, what's the thing that's holding you back from showing up more and sharing more of your authentic story?
I think for me, the biggest thing comes down to vulnerability and a couple of things, where that intersects with my past and where that intersects with my own personality. I'm generally just a more private person, and there is a sense to which having some mystique has served around my brand and sort of, who I am and what I'm doing. There was a little while where that actually served me pretty well. But I think I held on to it too long because culturally things were shifting away from that sort of thing. And it was easy for me to hang on to that because that's just my default, but I think it's the vulnerability of like, man, if you really put yourself out there and people know where you've been and sort of, get some glimpses into your real story, like what are they gonna think? I mean, they're gonna, and so part of my story is, as you well know, I'm a self-taught photographer. I've always been a creative in some fashion or form, but photography, I was the guy for a long, long time. Oh, funny. I just remembered this. You're the guy that I borrowed the first time I ever used a digital point and shoot camera back in the day. I mean, this is forever ago, right? But like, I didn't know how to use it. You had to show me how to turn it on. Yeah, literally. That's right. I remember. Because I didn't want to be bothered with cameras. Like we'd go on vacation. Like, where's the camera? Yeah. I don't know, or I would bring it and then the pictures would be horrible because I didn't know what I was doing. So I was trying to sell something. I was trying to sell something on eBay for the first time, and I borrowed the camera from you. I'm like, I don't even know how to turn this thing on. Yeah. So, but where that evolved for me, of course, my family life, my personal life took a hard right turn in the early 2000s, and found myself out of work, and my wife and I were separated, and I was living in an empty house with bare walls. I mean, there were no pictures of my kids. I had a few pieces of furniture, and I just rattled around inside of that empty house for a while before I was like, I was dying inside, being separated from my family, and trying to navigate the challenges of those moments. And so I was like, I got to have pictures of my kids, And so I borrowed another camera from another friend, a better camera this time, but I still don't know what I was doing. Like, he had to do the same thing. Like, here's all the things. He even wrote instructions out on a sheet of paper. How funny is that? Like, it was like 3 pages of instructions. And so I poured over these instructions, and then, my kids were with me one weekend, and they were playing in the snow, and I shot some pictures that to this day are some of my favorites. I had no idea what I was doing, but it happened, and something really clicked. I was like, I look at these pictures and feel so many things. And these pictures mean something. They mean so much to me right now. Yeah. And now, all these years later, my sons are grown. Those 3 sons are grown, and they mean that much more to me. And so it's like, if I can figure out a way to do this and help other people experience some of that same thing, then that'd be magic. That'd be magic somehow. Like maybe that'll become the light at the end of this tunnel that I'm in. And really, truthfully, that's what it became. And so I held on. I really held on for dear life. Like I honestly, it sounds kind of weird, but when I was learning photography, I would go out on a Thursday night and buy groceries and make myself stay in Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I would spend 3 days just shooting what was in my apartment. And I didn't have any special gear. I just had a camera. And so I was trying to figure out light, shadow, tone, and contrast and, color and all of that, trying to figure it out using desk lamps and flashlights and matches and all kinds of crazy stuff, just trying anything that would work. But I would do that and just immerse myself in it. And the people that do hear those stories now, when they look at my work now and, look at some of the clients I've worked with, they go, man, that's really how it started. Is that for real? But so you're right. I mean, I think my goal, if I could be influenced by you in the days and years to come, is to sort of take what you've done really well and apply that sort of authentic brand revelation, if you will, and apply it more to my own business. My business partner does the same, and he's incredible. He's a force of nature, a force to be reckoned with, and he lives his whole life out there just a lot of the same way. And people are drawn to him. They walk into a room and they feel and see his energy, and it immediately creates opportunities for him to connect with them and serve them, and for us to engage then with whatever projects they're on. And so it is really important. That's one thing I need to, I've been reminded of up to and during this conversation, I want to take away and apply. So I will say, Ryan, that for me, one of the key ways since I've been sort of selectively vulnerable over the years, very careful about what I say and put out there. Like, one of the ways it's helped me is just messaging. Honestly, it's like being able to write things in emails and on my website, and in some of the materials that my clients get that help move the needle, that help give them a window into who I am, even though they may not see all the other stuff right away. It gives them an interesting window, sometimes funny, sometimes, thoughtful, but words are powerful that way. Words are so powerful. And regardless whether it's comical or it's informative, man, it's so, even my about me on my photography site, the about page, I make fun of my name over and over again on that because, there's a million women in the world with my exact first and last name. And I think at least half of them are photographers. So I run into it all the time, but I make fun of that when I'm with my clients in person and then on my website, and it connects. It becomes part of my story. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had a guy come to the studio one time, and I opened the door, and I don't know why he didn't see my picture at all, but I opened the door and welcomed him in. He's like, bro, I thought you were a lady. And I get that so much, but it's become kind of a funny part of, how I relate to people that I work with. And, so simple things like being deliberate about the messages you write about yourself, about your work, about, things that you can make relatable and a touch point for other people's humanity. It's important.
I love even as you painted that picture of, and I remember the house in Pontiac, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were the last one to be at that house with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know that?
We filmed it.
You came over
remember?
To that video, and that was, that was powerful.
But painting the picture of that stage in your life, dude, I mean, that's like when you talk about like raw and vulnerable and like relatable, holy cow, dude, like, I'm going to connect with you real fast when you go there. It's a powerful story. And it's not, and you would probably agree, it wasn't like one of the brightest shining moments in your life. One that you'd rather just maybe sort of like not forget about because it's made you who you are today. But when you're like, man, if I'm going to brag about something, I want to talk about like my accomplishments and the things that I'm doing well, not like where I was like empty, that's hard to talk about. But
It is,
man,
it
we've
is
all
hard.
been there. We've all been in that spot, and the encouragement and the inspiration to say like, wow, you could go from there to taking photos where people are like, wait, what? You're the same person that you didn't have formal training and you didn't like, your stuff is amazing. I mean, your photography is like, it's like world class. But to have your origin story, dude, I mean, that's like, it's amazing. So how do you recommend, where does somebody start as they seriously consider themselves as the brand and to use their own story as the differentiator, with keeping in mind, the client as the hero, right? Because it's easy to be like, well, here's my story and blah, blah, blah. Oh, I forgot about you, the client. What's the right way to do that?
Yeah, I think you've named the first and biggest step is remembering who the hero really is. You're the hero of your story.
Yeah.
But as your brand story impacts my life, whether it's my business or my own personal life, you're here to guide me. You're here to help me get from point A to point B. And the 7 elements of narrative, and, anybody who knows anything about story arc and all of that sort of thing understands that, the hero's journey is this. It's what we see in every movie and read in every book, of course, and it's compelling. We fall for it again and again and again because it is the human story. It's not that we're falling for it even. That's not the best way to say it. We're connecting with it. We relate to it. Yeah. It makes us feel something deeply because we're all trying to move from point A to point B. So if you're telling your brand story, even if you have a great origin story, but if you're telling it in a way that does not connect with the clients you're trying to serve and make them feel something about how you can guide them from point A to point B, how you can help them along and where they're traveling to in business, reaching revenue goals, whatever it is, and better serving their clients, then you're missing the mark completely. And so it begins with understanding who the hero is, and then really taking your messaging seriously, because you can have a beautiful website, you can have beautiful photo, video, you can have stunning product on that end, but if your words aren't right and they're not communicating those core values that we talked about a minute ago, or that core principle, then you're still going to miss the mark. And so you've got to take some time with your messaging, helping people process not just the fact that, hey, he is somebody who can guide me. He is somebody who can serve me, and I'm eager to know him. I'm eager for him to come alongside me. But how does that work? What does it look like? Because we spend a lot of energy trying to figure that out. We've all been to these websites where you click open and it's got all kinds of beautiful parallax movement, and there's all these beautiful graphics, and it's all just, amazing to look at. But then you go, that's cool, but I'm still not exactly sure what you do. Like, I sort of want to know, but I'm having to work at it really hard just right now. And I'm looking at your stuff. Like, I should know already what it is you do, and then how to engage you and how to get further in the process. So your messaging has got to be key. One of the best things business-wise you can do is step away from the things that you're creating long enough to make sure that your messaging communicates the value of what you're creating. And so because not everybody's going to see it. I mean, some people, we touched on it earlier, but there are folks who look at your stuff and then they look at other video production companies and they're like, meh, they're all the same. I'm just gonna see what they cost and whatever. Like, it's the price shopping. Of course, those aren't the people we're really after to begin with. But we have to give them a reason why. We have to help them understand this is what it's like to work with us, and this is what will help you accomplish, and these are the steps you follow. And it's all got to be communicated on a feeling level. It sounds all woo-woo and touchy-feely, and it is to a degree, right? I mean, it's because it's the human element. I mean, it's, there's a book I'm reading, the old saying, it's not personal, it's just business. The title of this book flips it around. She says, it's not just business, it's personal. And I love that phrase. And I think that's really ultimately where we've got to connect with the people we're serving. So if everything you're putting out there for the world to see looks great, but there's no soul, then you got to figure out a way to communicate that. And sometimes that starts with another blank page. And like you said, it's hard for us to figure that out for ourselves sometimes. It makes all the sense in the world to bring somebody in and be like, okay, help me see this objectively.
Yeah.
Because we have a hard time doing it, right?
Yep.
It's the whole forest for the trees thing. It's like we're too close to it. It's too personal. We're so invested in it that sometimes it helps to step back and have somebody else say, well, here's what I see. Here's what I experienced when I first looked at your site and sat down with you. And like, oh, I mean, frankly, even the conversation we had today about my past is part of that, because I am so resistant to that still. It's been almost 20 years and I still fight back internally, and I have to work to do the opposite. And so when somebody like you says, man, that needs to be out there. You need to be talking openly about this, or you need to be, let people see into this space in your life, it gives me pause. But again, you're the person who's more objective, because you can see from bird's eye view and then come all the way in with me. And I'm always right up in here, I can't see it clearly. So.
Well, and we create these stories about our story.
Oh yeah.
Write
That's
that down.
good. That's a good way to say it. Yeah.
So there's a lot of freedom in exactly what you're saying. Like, I'm a big proponent of, I've had coaches who've helped me all throughout my life. Having a business coach has been incredibly helpful. Being in a mastermind where you've got 10 or 12 other people that can hear what your struggle is, what you think your problem is, and have different perspectives from other people. Over the last few weeks, we're kind of like in this interesting phase for Tell Studios where I'm like, we just completed this documentary on Garth, like this 35-minute documentary sharing this, basketball coach legend who had an impact on my life. We do this film and I'm like, what if we did more stuff like this? Like, this was powerful. And then I'm looking at Grant and Grant's like, yeah. And then I'm like, wait, like, why don't we do more stuff like this? So we're not rebranding, but like really niching down. And we hired a branding guy. So a couple of weeks ago, we sat down with him. He presented to us this past Monday, and he kept saying, he's like, this is just what I heard you guys say. Like, I'm not making anything up here. I'm putting like, maybe some creative words together that you just don't, that's not your gift or skill. But this isn't like, I'm not making anything up here. It's just your story from this perspective, from an outside, and the questions he was able to ask and kind of dig in and press in and help us think about things differently. Like, man, if everything goes great 5 years from now, where's the brand at? What's happening? And it's like, oh shoot, I haven't even thought. I'm right here. I'm just like thinking, these are my quarterly rocks. This is my, these are my goals for the year. But man, so to bring an outside perspective in, just, you got to do it. So how can people engage with you? What's like, if somebody was like, man, Shannon, are you the guy? What's a good way for them to connect with you and figure out, if they might be a good fit for you, or you?
Yeah, great question. I appreciate the ask. I mean, you can find me at shannonwilliams.org. Online, very simple to find. There's a white bearded guy on there, no ladies. But there that's really where I communicate sort of the work I do as a brand messaging consultant. I love photography, but I'm passionate about other things as well. And I feel like I have value I can bring in other things. And that's one of them. It's really helping people clarify the communication around who they are, what they do, who they serve, and why it matters. When you get clarity on that, and especially if you have a team, and I know you can relate to this, when you get clarity on that yourself, that's one level of revelation. Yeah. And then the way it applies to how you personally are doing business. But then when you bring that level of clarity to your entire team, and you've got a room of 15 people or however many, who when anyone asks any of them, what do you guys do and why, everyone can say the same thing. Everyone says this presentation, like this concise, memorable, full of feeling statement or response that helps people say, wow, that's incredible. I need to find out some more, one of the guys I'm working with now is a pastor of a megachurch, and he is a noted athlete, that has the heart of a coach and the heart of a pastor. And part of the messaging I wrote for him was, I said, part of his elevator pitch I said, if somebody asks you what you do, just say, well, I'm trying to take the best of Billy Graham and the best of Bill Belichick and put them both in my life and live out what that brings, and then of course people can say, Billy Graham, wait, what do you do? Well, I'm a pastor, and, but he connects with athletes. He serves, other coaches and teams of coaches. And so, that's just a fun way to sort of connect and create an interesting, entry point into the conversation with them. And so, those are the sorts of things your teams can walk away with. And so that, they're out there just having conversation over drinks with friends or brand new people that they're just coming into their life. All of a sudden you've got an inquiry in your inbox next week that says, hey, I just met so-and-so. It's from your team. I want to connect, so it's that messaging. You can find some details about that at shannonwilliams.org. And I'm going to have some stuff for your audience to download too. So I'll have that on there, and I'll make sure you get that into your hands as well.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll include that in the show notes too. I was just going to add, for you as the founder to know your story, to have clear messaging, very, very important, very empowering. If you have a team, amazing for them, exactly like you said, Shannon. But then also like your fans, like the people that you're serving. If you're serving well, they're going to want to share. And if you have succinct, clear messaging, they're going to be a great mouthpiece for you as well. But if it's just Ryan, yeah, they do video stuff. But if they can say like, man, Ryan and his team, they create videos with soul, these brand films that are powerful, get more clients, or like whatever your thing is. If it can be clear, succinct, and most of us, we specialize in video. We don't specialize in messaging like that. And that's where it becomes so important and powerful to bring somebody in to help clarify. So definitely check out Shannon's stuff. I mean, the guy just has a heart of gold, and I mean, I think I'll post like maybe our wedding film. You can watch him do our wedding. So if you're looking for somebody to marry you, he can, maybe help you out.
I can sing at your wedding too.
That's right. Yeah, man. Wedding singer, just, comma. He could probably teach you how to use a camera today because he learned from me. You're welcome again. That's amazing. Dude, it's been so good to be together. Just love the value that you're bringing. I love your story. Keep sharing it. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Love you, bro. Appreciate the time today.
All right, friend, thank you for hanging out. If you want access to the show notes, the things that we talked about, grab them at studiosherpas.com/337, and all the links and the things will be there. If you are watching this video, if you're on YouTube or Facebook, leave a comment. Let us know, what was your big takeaway? What do you think about branding? What do you think about the power of authenticity? Was there an aha moment that you had in this conversation? Something that you are going to do, maybe a way that you're thinking differently because of something that was shared on this episode. I'd love to hear from you. If you want to just shoot me an email and let me know, that would be great too. You can email me, ryan@studiosherpas.com. Remember, Onward Summit, October 1st through the 4th. Go lock that, just put it in your calendar, because I'm going to ask you later. I'm going to say like, hey, did you pencil those dates in, or can somebody book something on top of that on your calendar? Talk to your spouse and say, hey, listen, honey, I got this like amazing opportunity to go hang out with people in my industry, network, rub shoulders, bamboozle. That's not nobody's getting bamboozled. I don't know why that word popped in my head, but I thought it'd be funny to say, and I said it, and Well, there it is. Okay, so that, and then don't forget about the lead machine as well. Go grab that to get your website in a healthy spot as a corporate commercial filmmaker. It's a checklist, and you can download that at studiosherpas.com/lead machine. If you like this show, if it was inspiring, take a screen grab, share it with a friend that you think might get something out of it. That's all I've got. Thank you so much for being here. Really, really do appreciate it. And I will see you on the next episode. Peace.